This evening, first up, a second ferry for Essequibo commuters. President Ali unveils major upgrades for Region 2, including new hospitals, schools, and smoother travel across the Pomeroon-Supenaam. We've got the details, plus election integrity under the microscope. The Carter Center is back in Guyana to monitor the September 1st polls, where their presence boosts public confidence in the vote. Also, from the ashes to a new beginning. Christchurch Secondary School rises from the rubble, welcoming students to a state-of-the-art facility just 2 years after arson leveled the historic school. Meanwhile, an airport in the sea? A bold plan is underway to transform Lusignan into a high-tech aviation hub with a floating airport, training facilities, and a hotel for oil industry elites. Finally, chaos in the Caribbean. Gunfire rocks Port-au-Prince as armed gangs clash with security forces, pushing Haiti's fragile health system to the brink. All this and more coming up on Headline News Update. Stay with us. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for June 30th, 2025. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, President Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali has announced that a second ferry will be added to the Pomeroon-Supenaam route by September 2025, further enhancing connectivity between regions 2 and 3. The announcement was made during an event at the Anna Regina car park on Saturday. The contract for the new ferry has already been signed.
Only a few days ago, we signed the contract for another ferry to come to Essequibo, and by September, you will have another ferry servicing Essequibo.
President Ali stated that the vessel will alleviate congestion, enhance trade, and improve access for commuters, farmers, and businesses across the Essequibo region. In addition to improved transport services, the president unveiled other major development initiatives, including 2 new state-of-the-art rice storage facilities and the creation of a rice stabilization mechanism aimed at supporting farmers.
We have already designed the project for 2 more, two more state-of-the-art rice storage facility here in Essequibo. And farmers, Essequibo rice farmers know that we intend to develop a rice stabilization mechanism to guarantee you a minimum price and to guarantee you success in this industry.
A co-investment development fund will also be introduced to give farmers, small businesses, and manufacturers better access to financing. Region 2 is also set to benefit from several large-scale projects, such as the construction of a modern Lima Regional Hospital, a nursing school, and plans to establish a branch of a medical school. Addressing the large crowd, President Ali assured citizens that the focus is on delivering real development. From ruins to renewal, Christchurch Secondary rises again 2 years after a devastating fire. Dominic Gittins has more on the reopening of the state-of-the-art school in Georgetown.
From ashes to achievement. After being reduced to rubble by a raging fire 2 years ago, the Christchurch Secondary School has officially reopened, welcoming back hundreds of students to a brand new, modern facility. Earlier today, Education Minister Priya Manikchan joined school officials and representatives from the Ministry of Education to celebrate the school's reopening and personally greeted returning students. The atmosphere was filled with excitement and pride as students returned to a refreshed, upgraded learning environment built to accommodate over 500 students and 39 teachers. The school's destruction in January of 2023, which followed an early chemical fire just a week before, was declared an act of arson. The fire, which torn through the decades-old institution at Campen Middle Street, left only beams and charred concrete behind. It also disrupted academic progress for students, particularly those preparing for the CSEC exams, many of whom lost valuable school-based assessments and lab materials in the blaze. Determined to rebuild, the government invested over $600 million in the reconstruction of the Christchurch Secondary School. The project, managed across several lots of various contractors, was designed with state-of-the-art fire safety system, including extinguishers, smoke detectors, and fire-retardant materials as recommended by the Guyana Fire Service. The new structure houses 20 classrooms, science labs, IT and TVET facilities, art and music rooms, and a home economic department. Minister Manichan lauded the resilience of the school's administration and teaching staff, who ensured students continue learning at the Cyril Potter College of Education during the rebuilding process. The reopening of the Christchurch Secondary School marks a significant milestone in Guyana's education recovery efforts and reaffirms the government's commitment to rebuilding and modernizing its learning institutions. Reporting for Channel 2 Headline News, Dominic Gittins.
Thanks, Dominic. Plans are moving full steam ahead to transform the Lusignan shoreline on the east coast of the Marara into a high-tech, multi-purpose aviation and business hub, complete with 115-room prefabricated hotel, training facilities, and an ambitious ocean-bound airport. Local engineer and entrepreneur Harry Chand Tulsi is spearheading the multi-million-dollar project, which aims to position Lusignan as a central point for Guyana's booming oil and gas industry as a future disaster relief hub for the Caribbean. The development is being anchored by several entities, including Oranduc Marine Services Incorporated, the Lusignan Aviation Center Incorporated, and the Institute of Maritime Training and Advanced Research. Tulsi revealed that initial plans for a land-based heliport have evolved significantly to meet the growing demands of the oil and gas sector. The latest design involves building the airport outward into the Atlantic Ocean, a shift prompted by technical advice from ExxonMobil's aviation team. This caters for helicopters and small jets while reducing impact on residential areas, Tulsi explained, adding that the location offers scalability and better alignment with Guyana's prevailing trade winds. Designs for the airport are being handled by US-based Lloyds Engineering Works Limited, specialists in complex marine infrastructure. Tulsi confirmed that all environmental and regulatory requirements will be strictly adhered to as the project expands. Complementing the Aviation and Training Center is a 115-room US-manufactured prefabricated hotel, complete with an Olympic-sized swimming pool, halal and vegetarian kitchen, and a 24-hour service geared towards accommodating oil and gas personnel. Tulsi also envisioned the site becoming a key hub for export and disaster response. With cold storage facilities and rapid air transport capabilities in development, the project could significantly boost Guyana's regional produce export potential. Tulsi believes the Lusignan development will serve as a one-stop support zone for oil and gas, aviation, hospitality, and emergency response, marking a bold new chapter in Guyana's infrastructural evolution. Stick around when we return. Over 2,000 grams of marijuana discovered near Mazaruni prison in suspected smuggling attempt, and rehabilitation of Suicide Linden Highway reaches 18% completion.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Common smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services. 316 Middle Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl, forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, You should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. The Carter Center has officially launched its International Election Observation Mission to monitor Ghana's upcoming general and regional elections set for September 1st, 2025. The initiative follows an invitation from Ghana's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. The four-member core team of experts from the United States, Georgia, and the United Kingdom began arriving in Georgetown today, with additional electoral specialists and observers expected in the lead-up to Elections Day. In a statement, Carter Center Field Office Director Jason Calder emphasized the organization's intent to engage with political stakeholders, civil society, and the broader public to provide an impartial and independent assessment of the electoral process. Calder said he hopes their observation and reporting will help the Guyanese people assess the credibility of the elections while providing useful recommendations for reform and encouraging transparency. David Carroll, director of the Carter Center's Democracy Program, reaffirmed the center's long-standing support for democratic governance in Guyana, noting that they are honored to launch this international election observation mission in support of the electoral process. The mission will be carried out under the internationally recognized 2005 Declaration of Principles for International Elections Observation. Evaluations will be guided by Ghana's legal framework as well as regional and international democratic standards. This marks the Carter Center's sixth election observation efforts in Guyana, followed by previous missions in 1992, 2001, 2006, 2015, and 2020. Beyond elections, the Carter Center has contributed to judicial reforms, conflict resolution, strengthening civil society, and efforts to enhance transparency in the extractive sector. In other news, authorities foiled a suspected smuggling attempt at Mazaruni prison after over 5 pounds of marijuana were found near the compound. Dale Jarvis has more on the ongoing investigation.
Authorities have launched a full-scale investigation after they discovered over 5 pounds of marijuana near the Mazaruni prison in Region 7 in what is suspected to be a failed attempt to smuggle drugs into the high-security facility. According to a report from the Guyana Police Force, the discovery was made around 10:30 a.m. on Sunday after the officer in charge of the prison received an anonymous phone call alerting him that narcotics had been dropped off in the solar farm area of the prison compound. The caller claimed the drugs were intended for inmates. Acting swiftly, the officer in charge dispatched a prison officer to investigate the area. A subsequent search of the area unearthed 2 bulky multicolored Bob Marley haversacks about 100 feet west of the solar farm and roughly 300 feet from the Mazaruni River. Upon inspection, the police found the bags contained 14 bulky parcels filled with leaves, seeds, and stems suspected to be cannabis. The discovery was reported to the Bartica police station, and responding officers conducted a further search of the bags, which revealed a total of 17 parcels of suspected marijuana. Additionally, 2 pairs of slippers with abnormally thick soles were also in the bag. A closer examination of the slippers led to the discovery of 4 transparent parcels of suspected cannabis concealed within the soles. The seized marijuana was weighed in the presence of the prison officer and confirmed to total 2,432.8 grams. The items were sealed, marked as evidence, and lodged at the Bartica police station. Police have since taken statements, and investigations into the origin of the narcotics and the intended recipients are ongoing. Reporting for Headline News Update, Dale Jarvis.
Thanks, Dale. Works on the massive US $161 million Sudan highway upgrade is progressing steadily, with paving and curb installation now underway and nearly 1/5 of the overall project completed. According to Damian Douglas, project manager for Nimilco Construction Services Limited, approximately 40% of the rehabilitation works, specifically milling and foundational activities, have already been completed. This brings the total project completion to approximately 18%, with 12 kilometers of milling work already completed. The project, which will transform the corridor into a modern 4-lane thoroughfare, includes critical groundwork such as excavation, the placement of geotextile fabric, and geogrid for added stability, backfilling, and the laying of asphalt for long-term durability. Special attention is being paid to deteriorating sections of the roadway. Speaking with the Department of Public Information, Douglas revealed that work is set to commence at 2 major points, the Linden Roundabout at Millie's Hideout and the Suicide Junction, both of which are expected to begin in July. Despite weather-related delays, the construction team remains optimistic. Douglas said they are aiming to complete at least 7% more of the work by the end of July, with the hopes of having 18 kilometers completed by the end of August. Workers are currently operating from as early as 6:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. and in areas with low visibility, additional lighting is being installed to maintain a steady pace of work. Residents and commuters are being asked to continue their patience and cooperation as the project progresses towards its August 2026 deadline, with the promise of a safer and more efficient highway upon completion. Don't go away after the break. Wildfires threaten popular tourist towns in Turkey, and malnutrition surges in capital Khartoum as Sudan faces worsening hunger crisis.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Our smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Mill Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. Barbados has dismissed as fake news a widely circulated claim that the U.S. raised its travel advisory to the highest level due to rising crime. Foreign Minister Kerry Simmons condemned the false reports as a deliberate attempt to damage the island's image. The U.S. Embassy confirmed Barbados remains at level 1. Exercise normal precautions. Officials urge the public to rely on official sources for travel information and updates. Meanwhile, Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, has become a combat zone. Shootouts between armed groups, government forces, and international security forces have become increasingly common as the health services are buckled under the pressure. Al Jazeera's John Holman takes us inside one of the few hospitals in Port-au-Prince that is still functioning.
We're in Tabar Hospital, Port-au-Prince. As armed groups have taken control of almost all of Haiti's capital, the healthcare system has all but collapsed. Now this hospital is one of the only ones left.
We're basically the front line of everything that is going on in the country. 60% of the health facility in Port-au-Prince is now closed. That puts a lot of pressure in the ones that are still remaining.
Armed groups now control more than 80% of the capital, and hospitals have faced attacks, burnt down or forced to shut amidst the violence. At Tabar itself, run by Doctors Without Borders, gunfights happen just outside the walls nearly every day. We've been hearing gunfire just rippling around the hospital, and then suddenly a bit more of a crack sound, and then this bullet hit a tree, and almost a man that was next to it. The fighting's meant that many health professionals have left Haiti altogether. There are fewer than ever now to attend to a desperate population. Among those who've stayed, Many, even among the Tabar staff, have been displaced by the violence, like Dr. Sever, head of the hospital's burns unit.
Before the country reached this state, I was living with my wife and my 3 children in a beautiful neighborhood, in a beautiful house, our dream house. But now, everything has vanished.
Dr. Sever's living in a rented house now. His wife and children left the country for their safety. For the last 4 years, he's only seen them on video call. But he and the hospital go on. It doesn't look like much. Wards housed in a collection of shipping containers, connected by gravel paths, walked by 2 pet peacocks. But it's an island of relative safety for people like Yoslim, whose son Alexandro is treated at the burns unit. It's the only one in the country.
When I come to the hospital, it's another world. Everybody understands my little one. Everybody gives us a lot of love.
There's nowhere in Haiti that can treat Alexandro if Tabar closes. The possibility of that is on everyone's minds. John Holman, Al Jazeera, Port-au-Prince.
Cases of malnutrition are reported to have surged in Sudan's capital since the army regained full control of it from the paramilitary rapid support forces. Al Jazeera's Heba Morgan reports.
Asma Mohammed has brought her malnourished daughter to this ward in a hospital in Omdurman in Sudan's capital Khartoum to get treatment after weeks of sickness. For more than 2 years, she stayed in her home as fighting between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary rapid support forces raged around them. She says the RSF restricted the movement of people in her district. It wasn't until the army took control of her district recently that she was able to come to the hospital.
We couldn't move out of the district to find work or food. The RSF was keeping us under siege from all directions. Food can't come in or out. So my daughter became malnourished. She started throwing up and became anemic. She came here and they had to give her blood to stabilize her.
Staff here say at least a dozen children suffering from malnutrition are being admitted to the hospital every day. Fatma Ali brought her daughter here 3 weeks ago, and she was taken into intensive care due to the effects of malnutrition on her little body.
I don't have much milk, and an infant needs nutrition from the mother. We don't always have food to eat. It's only 1 meal a day. So she developed a fever and started getting convulsions. We came here to the hospital in an ambulance.
Many children who come here also suffer from infection and diseases because of the hunger they face. The number of children facing malnutrition here is just a fraction of those in need of assistance around the country. More than 30 million people, or over half the population, don't have enough food, with more than 600,000 facing what aid organizations say are catastrophic levels of hunger. Half of those are children. But delivering assistance is not always easy. The army regaining control of Khartoum has allowed aid organizations to be able to deliver assistance, especially in remote areas. This malnutrition treatment center was opened to cater to those who can't reach hospitals. It's supported by the UN's World Food Programme that says a shortage of funding is affecting its humanitarian response. And while it's working to respond to the needs of people in Khartoum, thousands more outside the capital are at risk of starvation as violence hinders its operations.
Right now, our primary concern is Kadugli and surrounding areas in Kordofan and Al Fasher in Darfur. But I have to say that access is extremely varied and changes from month to month based on how conflict dynamics evolve.
For mothers here with their children, the situation is already dire. And many say when they leave the hospital, they will have to seek aid to survive. Otherwise, they may be back again or lose their children to hunger and malnutrition. Hiba Morgan, Al Jazeera, Khartoum.
More than 1,000 firefighters have been deployed in Turkey to battle fast-moving wildfires. The flames are threatening villages and towns in the western province of Izmir. Al Jazeera's Wilson Desire reports.
Fire and fear. Unwelcome visitors this summer to one of Turkey's most scenic regions. High winds and dry conditions are driving wildfires across western Turkey's Aegean region, forcing people to flee their homes.
There are lots of houses. There is a summer camp. The forest goes all the way there. I thought it will not cross the road, but it did. The wind is extremely strong.
Firefighters are trying to control the blazes from the air and land, but the weather is making it harder.
Because of the heavy wind and dry weather, the fire quickly moved towards the Menderes district due to the direction of the wind, and it is not under control. Our teams are working on the ground. The wind gusts are between 70 to 100 kilometers per hour, so our air units are not operating.
Smoke has reached the nearby city of Izmir and forced the closure of its international airport on Sunday for several hours. Delayed flights disrupted holidaymakers' plans. But residents of the region face an even greater disruption and uncertainty as the flames spread. Wilson Dysard, Al Jazeera.
This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3D weather forecast. And that's it, TV2 Headline News for this Monday evening. As we take early, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can tune in tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. for a rebroadcast and at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other.